This is from the Sydney Morning Herald. Public funding for schools associated with Church of Scientology revealed. From Eric Bogshaw. Very Scottish or Irish name. Schools associated with the Church of Scientology are receiving more government funding per student than hundreds of Australian public schools. Remember what I said? Children are currency. New data has revealed, despite benefiting from generous private donations and hundreds of thousands of dollars in school fees, the Athena and Yara Linda schools receive a combined amount of up to $475,000 in recurrent public funding every year to educate fewer than 60 students. And this is just my opinion. It'd be a great way to cleanse money, wouldn't it? I'm just saying. Over the next 10 years, demand for schools across Sydney is almost going to double. The schools follow the way to happiness philosophy of Scientology founder, allegedly, L. Ron Hubbard, but maintain they are a secular part of the tax-exempt applied scholastics group of schools worldwide, which has strong public links to the church. The Way to Happiness Foundation, which distributes a booklet on the philosophy, has been described by former church leader Vicky Asnaran as a front group to get people into Scientology. You know, like children. Notice the omission of child or children once again? You ever notice that? U.S. and Australian education authorities, authorities, everyone, ones with no names, no department names, no agency names, have previously complained about Scientology texts being subversively placed in public schools. There you go. At the Inner West-based Athena School, listed as the Australian, New Zealand, and Oceania headquarters of the Applied Scholastics Group, students are funded through a combination of public funding, fees, and tax-free donations, with each of its 30 students benefiting from up to $20,000 in funding per year. Wait a minute, you guys, didn't I just read they had 60 students and now we have 30? Which one is it? But remember that previous article I was reading, everyone continued to brag about the Sydney Australian org being worth 37 million Australian dollars. Remember that? According to my school data, the school, which limits class sizes to 15 students, otherwise known as children, receives just $2,000 less per student in public funding than the nearby Newtown Public School, where they're teaching religion, which has been forced to restrict its enrollment boundaries to STEM overflowing classrooms. Overflowing, everyone. At the same time, the Yara Linda School outside Melbourne receives up to $11,000 in public funding for each of its 26 students. What did I tell you? Children are currency. I'm just saying. This is more than the amount received by up to 800 NSW and Victorian public schools, and $2,700 more per student than the nearby Rolling Hills School in Murrelbark. I'm sure I butchered that. I can't help but think of how many of these poor Scientology children are forced to do manual labor, forced to do ethics handlings, forced to do L. Ron Hubbard courses, while their so-called organization is collecting all this money for each one of them. And you and I both know, we all know, that there will be more stories of S abuse and various abuses of children coming out of Yara Linda School as well as Athena School. We already know that's going to happen. And then they show this stupid picture. Artist impressions of new Australian Scientology building. Built with child labor. Just saying. I mean, I could say it's my opinion, but it's like pretty obvious at this point, isn't it? I mean, how much more overriding evidence do people in judicial courts and so-called officials need to see? Come on. The public injection on both schools comes on top of the $170,000 in tax-free finance received from other private sources. Isn't that convenient? Other private sources, everyone. See how these wealthy, crooked folks live? I'm not saying all wealthy people. I'm just saying these, in my opinion, shysters. And I remember Serge Del Mar had brought up numerous times. Now, America, I'm not sure how much different it's going to be in Australia, but a lot of the Scientology parishioners, including the pedos, were able to get like discounts and money off of their tax bills. I don't know how it works, but anyways. Including donations from church members, other slaves, to Applied Scholastics, emphasized on its own website in more than 400. Oh, look at the number, you guys. I'm going to snap out. By the way, what is the 47 with Zachary K. Hubbard? It's pretty much been scrubbed from the internet. I've been looking and looking. I'm going to continue to look, but you can always go to his blog or his YouTube channel. He's got 2 of them. Guess how much, you guys? On its own website, in more than $470,000 in school fees. What is a 47? It couldn't be 450. It couldn't be 420. It couldn't be 240. No, $470,000. Who's paranoid now, everyone? Who's paranoid now? You guys know I don't go all the way. Numbers never lie. Celebrities, including Tom Cruise and John Travolta, have long championed the church. They've championed it, everyone. They've championed it. Which has previously been accused by South Australian Independent Senator Nick Xenophon under parliamentary privilege of torture, perjury, and financial coercion. Please go look into Senator Xenophon. That is the depiction and definition of a real man, everyone, in my humble opinion. Go and do a little research. Find out what those black-toothed, black-eyed, diabolical, demon-infested government officials said to Senator Xenophon. I'm not going to go into it here because then they'll get downright upset. All of the allegations have been denied by the church. Deny, deny, deny. Deny, deny, deny. What is it? What is that called? Well, I mean, didn't Hubbard say, never deny, always attack? And then there's Darvo, but I don't want to, I'm going all around the world. A spokeswoman, you know, the one with no name, everyone, for the Church of Scientology said, the church does not manage the schools. They don't manage the schools, everyone. You know, the Athena school that got $470,000 in school fees. Not 45, not 42, 470,000. The unnamed spokesperson, you know, back in the day, you'd have to name names unless it was a confidential source that was in fear of their life or afraid for their safety. But, you know, now everything goes. So the church does not manage the schools, nor are they a front group for the church. They're not a front group, everyone, said from the unnamed person. You know, where there's no investigation. Well, I mean, I think some people are calling for it. They are a completely independent secular. They're secular, everyone. You know, the two schools that are teaching religion and public schools that are getting public funding from Australian taxpayers. Isn't that great? Sound like a Ponzi scheme? They are a completely independent secular association, which was founded by a group of concerned parents. Concerned parents, everyone. Now, all of a sudden, the word parent means something, right? Because how often doesn't the word parent mean anything in Scientology? Facts. And if you don't know, now you know. Who wanted to educate children, she said. Really? It's my humble opinion that would be indoctrinate. Huge difference. The principal of Yara Linda, Christelle Duffy, is she one of the wealthy Scientologists? Like the Dudans? I'm probably messing up the pronunciation. Said the level of government funding received by the school reflected its educational need, you guys. Reflected its educational need. Remember the organization that does not, for the most part, believe in educating the children? Remember that one? What was it I read somewhere that L. Blacktooth Hubbard believed all the children needed to know was reading, writing, and arithmetic, and most times they don't even get that? Go read Sky Telepo by Nathan Rich. I'm going to finish that. I keep forgetting to do it. I have to find the book. It's here somewhere. There is nothing unusual, anyone, in any school, in any sector, raising additional funding. Additional funding, everyone. Don't they have to, like, how it usually works, because I did work in social work, believe it or not. Aren't you supposed to be able to account for where you spend the money? Just like when the IRS goes in and audits you, various companies, or even us, you have to show where the money went. I'm just saying. Did that go for reading and writing and arithmetic? Said from a moron, in my opinion. Our educational philosophy is clearly and prominently declared on our website. On their website, everyone, because, nobody can actually form words for themselves or their own thoughts. And other information material, like indoctrinating children, While the Athena and Yeta Linda schools had maintained low student numbers, conveniently, the church has been busy establishing an ideal advanced organization and continental base for Australia and the Asiatic region, according to its global leader. Oh, global leader. Global leader. Isn't that what they called L. Ron Hubbard? In fact, didn't Mike Rinder take that term as well in the allegedly anti-Scientology movement? Huh. All the patterns. According to its global leader, David Miscavige. In 2010, a church spokesman, the one without a name, told ABC's Four Corners there were teens. There you go again, you guys. They just can't get child out of their mouths. They can't do it. I can't help but correlate the Hebophile word. Go look it up. You'll never be the same, but if not hundreds of thousands of members in Australia, hundreds of thousands, everyone. However, only 2,163 people, this won't be children, people listed themselves as Scientologists in the 2011 census. At $37 million building. Nice. Planning documents approved by Willoughby Council reveal. Oh, I misspoke. It's 57 million, you guys. Not 37 million. It's 57 million. All tax-free. Reveal the 57 million it's a super worship center, everyone. Not just a regular worship center. It's a super worship center. On Sydney's North Shore, will host up to 500 people, where senior ministers, otherwise known as ecclesiastical leaders, will be able to train, children and attempt to cross Scientology's bridge to total freedom. What did Doug Kramer call it? He had a really funny name for it. I mean, Bridge to Freedom. I mean, could you invert any better than that one? Come on now. Okay. A spokesman, the one with no name, for the NSW Department of Education. I mean, how people could even take this stuff seriously is unreal. NSW Department of Education said state funding levels recognize the level of resources available to each school based on fees, charges, and parent contributions. I'm just going to say it now. I guess fuck the kids, huh? The NSW government per student funding provided to non-government schools, including Athena, is significantly less than is provided to public schools on a per student basis, he said. Is this really all we're worried about? I mean, it's fair to bring it up, though. In a statement, the Federal Department of Education, no names, declined to comment specifically on the schools, but said Productivity Commission data, data everyone, kind of like stats, shows that on average, total government funding for a student going to a public school, and they don't even, as far as I know, they don't even check the curriculums at this school. Doesn't that sound familiar? Greenfield School in the UK, the Apple School in Los Angeles. Fronts be frontin'. Funding for a student going to public school is over $16,000 per year. Said, I have to bring up. And the children that are volunteers, how much money do they get? What is it every week? 47, of course, right? But what I understand is that most of the children that allegedly volunteer, which sounds like some type of labor law being broken, they don't even get that. But yet, total government funding for a student going to a public school is over $16,000 per year. So that child is worth $16,000 to the government. All tax-free, of course. While the support for a student attending a non-government school is $9,300. Under the Australian Constitution, the Commonwealth has no specific power, I can't help it, in relation to schooling and does not have a direct role. It doesn't have a direct role, everybody. In the registration, administration, and operation of schools, the statement said. The statement where there's no names mentioned. I mean, it's just like we're living in Willy Wonka land. Oompa Loompa. The Athena School was contacted for comment. I don't mean to laugh because it's important. These children are important, but funding for schools associated with Scientology. Total government funding per student compared to 2 local schools in the same suburb in NSW in Victoria. So I'm not going to go through that because it's just too small for my eyes to try to figure that out. You guys can go check that out. And that was in 2014. Would you guys love to know how many checks some of these so-called government officials are getting from Scientology? Can't help but think of the police youth development program in Los Angeles. So that's it for now. I will leave a link in the description box. Like and subscribe if you choose. Peace.